This is the SIRUI 24mm f2.8 anamorphic lens. Everything about this lens just screams cinematic. And I know the reason that you're clicking on this video mostly is just to see how the video looks. This whole video, everything you're seeing today is shot, if you can't already tell, with this lens. I have a couple of these right now. That's how I was able to show you and talk about it at the same time. Let's talk about this guy. So the 24mm is SIRUI's third anamorphic lens, having previously released the 35mm and the 50mm anamorphic lenses in the last couple of years. This is an APS-C lens, but it does pair perfectly with the A7S III with a couple of little in-camera tweaks, which I'll show you in today's video too. A lot of people asked about how the flaring is with this light. Well, there you go. Right off the bat, that's how it looks with a tiny little light there. There's also a little bit on the screen, as you can see right there, from the light I've got in the background. Now I'm actually using the Moment Cinebloom, and I have been since I got the lens. It's the 10% version as well. That's why the light here and everything in today looks a little bit more diffused. I just like the look of the Moment Cinebloom 10% on this lens. I think it's a great combination. Now we're gonna throw that dreaded word out there, but I think with the wider field of view, the blue flares, the anamorphic look in general, everything about this lens just screams cinematic. Here's some more examples shot with this lens on the A7S III and the Cinebloom 10%. Much like SIRUI's previous lenses, this is a manually focusing lens, so make sure you use focus peaking. It's extremely well built, heavy, all made of metal. It's got some heft to it. It comes in E Mount, EFM mount, Z Mount, X Mount, and Micro Four Thirds mount. 2 rings on the lens. You have a manual focus ring at the front with all your distances on there in feet and in meters if you like to focus that method. I actually find the manual focus ring is a little bit looser than what I was used to with the previous anamorphic lenses. It's not a bad thing by any means. It's not as loose as like the Sigma 24-70, but it's something to be aware of. On the back of the lens, there is your aperture ring there, and it is declicked, meaning it turns smoothly. There isn't a click every time you change aperture. Something to note, there is no electronic communication between the lens here and your camera. So that means to change the aperture, you have to do it on the declicked aperture ring here. There is no way of doing it on your camera directly. On the front of the lens there, you do have a 72mm filter thread, so you can put on any filter that you wanted to, like I have been with the Cinebloom. So as this is an APS-C lens, if you just put it straight on the A7S III, it won't work. It won't just give you a look straight away that you can use, unless you want like that 90s vintage skateboarding fisheye with the horrible vignette around the outside, unless that's the look you're going for. This is because the A7S III doesn't allow you to shoot in crop mode, so the whole full frame sensor is viewing this APS-C lens, and so you're viewing the edges of the rear element here. And that's why you get that vignette look. There are ways to get around this easily. If you're using a different full frame Sony camera like the A7 III, you can just go into crop mode and it'll instantly work. Now, if you do want to continue to use the A7S III, there are a couple of different options that you can do to get rid of the vignetting, and it depends on the mode that you're in. If you're in something like 4K 24, you can use clear image zoom, go in 1.4 times, and that will get rid of your vignetting around the edge of the lens there. Now, if you want to use 4K 120 and get slow motion, you can't actually use clear image zoom. So the way to get around this is to shoot it with the big vignette, and then when you're in post, you just zoom in to 140%. You're pretty much doing the same thing as you would be if you're using clear image zoom. Now, there is going to be a lot of debate as to which one provides a better image. Now, I didn't do the test on this because Jake Sloan has already done it. I'll link his video down below. He covers it all for you. All of SIRUI's lenses that they've made so far have been a 1.3x anamorphic lens, meaning it squishes it down, and then in post you de-squeeze it 1.3 times, which gives you that nice big wide anamorphic look. Because this does squish the image down, it makes it a little bit harder to frame up your shots. So I recommend using something like the Ninja 5, which has the ability to de-squeeze 1.3 times live, so you can see exactly how the shot's going to turn out when you de-squish it in post. The Fieldworld monitors also do this as well if you have one of those. When it comes to editing, you need to create a custom project that has a resolution of 5107 by 2160. If you're just using regular 4K or 1080p, it's not going to give you that proper aspect ratio, so make sure you use 5107 by 2160. And then to de-squeeze in post, I use Final Cut. It's pretty easy to do. Just stretch your x-axis by 133%. That will then fill that frame and give you that proper anamorphic look. I recommend using adjustment layers in Final Cut Pro if you don't already. That way you can make one adjustment layer and you can just stretch the x-axis on that by 133%, and then it stretches everything below that adjustment layer instead of having to do it manually clip by clip. Christian Matt Grab actually has a free download for adjustment layers to use in Final Cut because it doesn't come as standard. I'll pop a link down below to that for you. So the SIRUI 24mm f2.8. If you're looking for those sci-fi-esque blue flares, you want that wider field of view, this is absolutely the one to go for out of the three so far. It's my favorite. I just like the look of this over the 35 and the 50. They were great too, just give me the wider option any day. Depending on when you view this video, it's going to be available in different places. Right now, it's just on Indiegogo. You pay now and you'll get it in X number of months, but in the future, it will very likely be on B&H and Amazon. I'll update the links down below as and when that happens. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.